Welcome to Now to Play Games. I'm one of your hosts, John, and with me is the renewed Bandicoot. It's Finn.
Long live Crash. Fuck Bobby Kotick.
Finn, I let me know what would be so big, like so huge, that we would actually go live for a special Now to Play Games podcast. No, I am not talking about the asteroid that passed over the Earth about 1 million miles and just barely missed us. I am talking about the granddaddy of all acquisitions, the mother of all news stories. 3 days ago, we told you about Take-Two acquiring Zynga for $12.7 billion, making it the biggest acquisition in 40 years. Well, you know what? And actually the biggest acquisition of video games. Guess what? That's piddly. That's nothing. That is not even a thing that we should talk about anymore. Welcome to a special edition of Now to Play Games, your weekly news dump about all the video game news you need to know about. We usually do this live every Saturday at 4 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. British, here on twitch.tv/Now to Play Games. If you can't hang out with us live, we got you covered. Just search Now to Play Games on YouTube to find all the video or the Now to Play Games videos you need. This podcast right now, Now to Play Games, our monthly Playdate podcast, reactions to things like the Game Awards, and our new show, Ride Along. While you're there, go ahead and sub and hit that bell so you know when we're giving you a brand new video just for you. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcasting service, go ahead and follow us there and give us a review. Tell your friends to listen to Now to Play Games wherever they're listening to podcasts. And you know what? We're also on social media. Follow us at Now to Play Games on Twitter and Instagram. Quick housekeeping for everyone real fast. Before we just jump right into just the smallest story. That new show I just said, Ride Along. You know what? It starts January 28th right here on twitch.tv/Now to Play Games with the VOD going up on the YouTube channel. You know what we're starting out with? We're going to stream the first 2 hours of Pokemon Arceus. And so come hang out with us. Bring your questions and let's see if this is going to be the Breath of the Wild of Pokemon games.
January 28th, way closer than it sounds, by the way. That's next Friday.
Yeah, it is next week, my friends. It is next week. With all that taken care of, let's load up the news. We have one story for everyone, and it involves $68.7 billion. And I'm talking about one NFT. No, I'm not. I would actually hate myself if that's what we were talking about. Xbox has bought Activision Blizzard for, yes, $68.7 billion, Dr. Evil $billion.
A story so big that we could have gone the whole episode without mentioning NFTs, but until you dropped it just then.
I thought about it, and then I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to mention NFTs. What is Now to Play Games without actually mentioning an NFT?
Yeah, NFT games.
NFT. All right, you know, let me read. Right. We're going to break everything down. Finn and I are going to go back and forth. We're going to ask questions. Chat. Ask us questions. If your comments watching after the video, just leave your comments. We'll answer everything. We'll figure this out.
This is the whole show today. It's going to be a whole conversation. Yeah.
Nothing else. So this is why it's a very special Now to Play Games. I'm going to go ahead and jump right in from the Xbox Wire, kind of in the middle of the actual press release by Phil Spencer himself. It is incredibly exciting to announce that Microsoft has agreed to acquire Activision Blizzard. Over many decades, the studios and teams that make up Activision Blizzard have earned vast wellsprings of joy and respect from billions of people all over the world. We are incredibly excited to have the chance to work with the amazing, talented, dedicated people across Activision Publishing, Blizzard Entertainment, Beenox, Demonware, Digital Legends, High Moon Studios, Infinity Ward, King, Major League Gaming, Radical Entertainment, Raven Software, Sledgehammer Games, Toys for Bob, Treyarch, and every team across Activision Blizzard. Oh my goodness. Just hold on. That alone, hold on. I gotta take a sip of water.
Is Vicarious Visions not in there? I've just noticed that. Are they an actual Activision studio or are they just licensed for different
Yeah, that's a good point. Huh. The press release continues. Until this transaction closes, Activision Blizzard and Microsoft Gaming will continue to operate independently. Once the deal is complete, the Activision Blizzard business will report to me, Phil Spencer, as CEO of Microsoft Gaming. Upon close, we will offer many Activision Blizzard games as we can within the Xbox Game Pass and PC Game Pass, both new titles and games from Activision Blizzard's incredible catalog. We also announced today that Game Pass now has more than 25 million subscribers. As always, we look forward to continuing to add more value and more great games to Game Pass. As a company, Microsoft is committed to our journey for inclusion in every aspect of gaming, among both employees and players. We deeply value individual studio cultures. We also believe that creative success and autonomy go hand in hand with treating every person with dignity and respect. We hold all teams and all leaders to this commitment. We are looking forward to extending our culture of proactive inclusion to the great teams across Activision Blizzard. Around the world, there is no more exciting venue for fun and connection than video games. And there has never been a better time to play than right now. As we extend the joy and community of gaming to everyone, we look forward to welcoming all of our friends at Activision Blizzard to Microsoft Gaming. Finn, my friend, my colleague, my co-host, and my cohort, are you shitting me?
To quickly confirm something before I forget, by the way, yeah, Vicarious Visions are owned by Activision Blizzard, but it seems that the fact that they're not mentioned in this sort of confirms the rumors that they've just been completely merged into Blizzard, as like they're not an entity anymore. They're not their own thing. They still have a Twitter account, I think, but other than that, not really. Yeah, I woke up this afternoon and phone exploding. Yeah. And we were all just sort of like, yeah, throw out run a show for Saturday, right? This is all we're going to talk about. But then I realized it's only Tuesday. So I was like worried about like what the podcast is going to be. Hence the reason we are doing this now, so we can sort of like get all our feelings out there about this. Yeah, massive.
We can talk about this for an entire podcast.
Yeah, just
there will be other news.
Yeah, there'll probably be
other news on Saturday.
Yeah, there'll probably be other news by Saturday. We'll probably have updates to this because there'll probably be an evolving story. There will be an article, an opinion piece about this. I assume the news will still be drip feeding in as we are recording this right now on Tuesday evening. But we'll see. But yeah, this is too big to not just do this special episode and just talk about it for an hour plus. Yeah.
All right off the bat, your feelings. What? Because you woke up. I woke up and literally I got a tweet and I was like, wait, did I just read that right? And then all of a sudden, our bot in our Discord, which kind of aggregates feeds, just started blowing up, and I'm like, you have got to be shitting me right now.
Yeah. April O'Neil. April O'Neil was going wild.
Yeah, our bot is her name is April O'Neil. We love her. Yeah, she started blowing up, and we're like, what is happening? I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. So the first thing I saw, John, was Discord DM from my good friend Beta, and he just sent me that image of like Xbox plus Activision and all the games they have lined up, and I thought it was fake. I thought like, okay, someone's rumored this and they've made this like dumb mock-up that looks real enough, but it's not real. And then I just quickly zoomed over to Twitter and our Discord, and I was like, oh, how? I didn't think this was possible. My feelings, John, and like, let me just preface this, because with everything we say, this is why we're doing an hour-long podcast on this. I think it's this thing with the internet, whenever you see a headline or you see a piece of news, you have to fall down one way or the other of it. Is it good news or is it bad news? Do I like this or do I not like this? And to all those people that think that way, I would say that it's okay to feel many ways about this. It's okay to be hyped and terrified and bummed and intrigued and all of these things, because it is a massive, massive story with many working parts that we'll delve into over the course of this show. And yeah, it's okay to feel a lot of things. It's okay to not bring the hammer down on anything right now, because this deal is going to be evolving, and it hasn't even technically been done yet. We'll get into all that and how like the business stuff works. But yeah, this will be something we'll be talking about for a while, and should do at that. What about you, John? What was your initial gut reaction?
Mine was like, oh my god, I was not. I saw it and it took me a second to process, and I was like, there's no way that they opened up that big of a wallet for Activision Blizzard. Because I'm with you. Like, I think that's 100% correct. Like, whatever you're feeling is cool, because I'm still processing how I'm feeling. Like, is it good? Is it bad? And time will only tell about that one. My first reaction was And I'm going to be absolutely honest. My first reaction was, thank God Bobby Kotick is getting the fuck out of there. That was my first gut reaction going, well, honestly, and I'm going to say it multiple times in this podcast, if there's anyone who can change a freaking culture, it is going to be freaking goddamn Phil Spencer. That's it. That's it. And then everything else was like, all right, what happens with here? What's Game Pass? All this stuff. And it was just an amalgamation of what in the hell? Like, I don't get overwhelmed too easily. Like, but this one actually overwhelmed me to a point. Like, thankfully I was working at home today and I was like, all right, let me do work. All right, let me do podcast stuff. Let me do work. There's a bounce back and forth just to be able to keep my mind flowing correctly. But my God,
beside myself all day.
Yeah.
It's just one of these things that, but this is what we eat up. This is us, like, this is why we made now to play games, to like talk about stuff like this. Like, just, and to have thank God I have a video game podcast, because I don't know how I would have released this energy without talking to you about it to people on the internet. So thank you all for being here for that. And
yes,
to be honest, John, like, you sort of went like the good route about, like, probably the more natural route of Bobby Kotick. I think I've just been so conditioned by these Xbox announcements of like acquisitions and stuff that the first two words that came into my mind were Game Pass. And then half a second later, I was like, oh, it's Activision. What does that all mean? And yeah, we'll sort of get into that, I guess.
It gets a little bit crazy. Before we jump in, because you broke down the whole investor call thing. Rose, do you mind bringing up the gaming leadership for Xbox for me, please, real fast? Something I want to point out, because it'll come back around, I promise. Excuse me.
He's dying.
I am still sick.
It's too much for him.
Yeah, it's too much for me. I'm still sick, so but I had to get this out. First, I want everyone to register that Phil Spencer is now CEO of Microsoft Gaming.
He was formerly head of Xbox and VP of technology at Microsoft. So this is a promotion. This is
a promotion for him. And now look, we have 14 leadership. 14 in the leadership. No, I'm sorry. It's 12 in leadership and then 13 with Phil Spencer. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's
it's 12 disciples, you could say.
Yeah, it is. It's the 12 disciples of Xbox. You're 100% correct. And within those disciples, you know what I love? And I'm just going to point out there are more females than males.
True, Bill. Didn't even
know. There are more females than males.
Something else that I love about this graphic, they actually include the pronouns.
Yes.
I think that's a nice touch.
I think that has a nice touch too. That's great. I know we're going to talk about it because we have Activision Blizzard, a better APK and all that stuff, but I just wanted to point it out that we have more females than males in the Xbox gaming leadership, and at least a first step of Xbox putting their money where their mouth is.
Yeah, and a lot of familiar names in there as well, like Matt Booty, Sarah Bond, Kareem, Tim Stewart. Yeah. All of the familiar faces that you would, if you were locked to Xbox, if you're Xbox super fan, you'd recognize a lot of these people. They're still there, along with these other names that we're less familiar with. I don't know if they've been around. Because it seems like a sort of like fresh start for Microsoft gaming, as they're now calling it. It's not just Xbox. It's the whole thing, you know?
Yeah. Fresh start, cleaning up, nice stuff. All right, Finn, I know you love like investor calls, and that's your bread and butter. I'm just going to sit back and I'm just going to let you go, baby.
Yeah, so they just released the press release, and then they went into the investor call to break down this stuff. Start off with Satya Nadella, who's the chairman and CEO of Microsoft. They mentioned that this is an all-cash transaction worth $68.7 billion. You might remember when we talked about the Tech2 acquisition of Zynga last week that they had to actually borrow a lot of the financing from JP Morgan. This is all cash. This is all just money Microsoft had sitting. They also had to not only buy all of the assets that Activision are worth, but also all the cash that they had sitting, and they had a lot of cash as well. They were able to just buy it outright. It's insane. This is the largest acquisition, not only in gaming history, but also in Microsoft history. The next largest was LinkedIn in 2017 for $26.2 billion. So
I had no idea Microsoft owned LinkedIn until today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they own GitHub as well. They own a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
they just keep buying things. And then Satya Nadella also mentioned that we will bring as many Activision Blizzard games as we can to our Game Pass subscription service across the PC, console, and mobile. including both new games as well as games from the Activision Blizzard's incredible catalogue. Sort of, yeah, again, the first thing that came into my mind was Game Pass. They have surpassed 25 million Games Pass subscribers. We were speculating about that a few weeks ago on the show, what they were at now, because they hadn't released numbers in a while. There you go, over 25 million. And I imagine it would have got a bump today, and we'll probably get a bump once the deal closes as well. He was very quick to go out there and talk about the culture at both Microsoft and Activision. Nadella said, as CEO of Microsoft, the culture of our organization is my number one priority. This means we must continually improve the lived experience of our employees and create an environment that allows us to constantly drive everyday improvement in our culture. That's why we believe it's critical for Activision Blizzard to drive forward on its renewed cultural commitments. We are supportive of the goal and the work that Activision Blizzard is doing, and we also recognise that after close we will have significant work to do in order to continue to build a culture where everyone can do their best work. So yeah, they were eager to get ahead of that because they knew there would be questions regarding that, and we'll go into that in a bit. The acquisition is expected to close financial year 2023. Activision Business will report to Phil Spencer. Bobby Kotick, who will remain in charge for the time being, is still CEO of Activision Blizzard, but he reports to Phil Spencer now, who is part of the larger Microsoft gaming umbrella. So he was speaking. There's a lot of talk about the metaverse. Kotick mentioned the metaverse as well. He said, our talents and franchises are critical components of the construction of a rich metaverse. That was a lot of the talk I saw on the sort of mainstream news channels, the Bloombergs, the CNBCs, the financial channels, stuff like that. They were more interested in how this affects, Facebook, Apple, Google with regards to the metaverse and stuff. And I think that's more something that, we always talk about, like, investors love buzzwords, so they were trying to, reassure investors that way. Microsoft reached out to Activision Blizzard about the acquisition, according to Kotick, not the other way around. So it's not like AB were looking to sell, and they were just shopping themselves around, and Microsoft were the highest bidder. Microsoft were just looking for someone to buy, and they landed on AB.
I've got the spare cash just hanging out, Papa Phil, and he's just like, I need to buy something. I'm in a shopping mood.
They have a war chest, John, of 100. No, this is the actual terminology to use. They have a war chest of $130 billion. And they tried to buy, if you remember last year, they tried to buy TikTok, and that fell through. They tried to buy Discord, and that fell through. So they are literally sitting with a pile of cash, and as a business, you don't want to be sitting with a pile of cash, because you know what happens then? Tax. Do you know what can't be taxed? Assets.
You
know what you do with you have a pile of cash? You buy an asset. They bought one with Activision Blizzard. So yeah, they were really trying to burn cash. Don't you love capitalism? Phil Spencer spoke next. He, again, is promoted to from head of Xbox to CEO of Microsoft Gaming. He said that when the transaction closes, Microsoft Gaming will be the world's number 3 gaming company by revenue, behind Tencent and Sony. Reiterates intention to bring as many Activision Blizzard King games to Game Pass as possible, both from back catalogue and new titles, probably day one. He reiterates that this transaction paves the way for Microsoft's vision for the metaverse. One that's interesting, and definitely interesting off the back of last week's story about Zynga. Phil Spencer said, mobile is the biggest category of gaming, and it's an area where we have not had a major presence before. This transaction adds one of the most successful mobile game publishers to Microsoft Gaming, and I'm personally looking forward to learning from the innovative teams at King. So yeah, when we were talking about that last year, we were using Activision as an example of they bought King to diversify their revenue streams by just like buying their way into mobile. Microsoft have now done that in a sort of indirect way where they bought Activision, who bought into mobile with King. So they're now in that market as well. And again, regarding Microsoft and Activision's culture, Phil Spencer said that includes respecting the creative vision and identity of individual game studios. We have fundamental values that we refuse to compromise on, and we embrace the vibrant creative diversity of our industry. There was more after from Amy Hood, more about the financial breakdowns, things that only really matter if you're an investor. But that's sort of the meat and potatoes of the stuff that we know. There have been small like snippets and interpretations that have come out after the fact, but that's largely what we're talking about here. Anything from that immediately that sticks out to you, John, that you want to start talking about?
Actually, when it comes to like most of the stuff, I do I like that with Microsoft, they really did kind of give us just a path. I don't want to say a clear vision, but just a path of what they're planning on doing and what is the whole goal of this one. Because we're going to get into it when it comes to Call of Duty and all that crap.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like Xbox has been very good at the idea of they want to push streaming on the phone. Like they want you to play your games on their phone. With the acquisition of King, now you have another reason to play games on your damn phone, and Xbox has a way to connect to that one. Like they're literally playing like just puzzle pieces. And now this is just another puzzle piece in the actual overall puzzle of Xbox that they've just put together. And it's like very impressive and scary in a weird way because of just how much money they dropped. And you're right, like you shouldn't have that much money sitting around. And I'm glad you brought that up about Discord and TikTok and just all the stuff that they've been trying to buy. And finally they're like, you know what? Gaming. We're good at gaming. Let's just keep on going in gaming. And screw it, we're done with that.
It's amazing to think about where Activision was in like 2014, 15, right? Shortly after the launch of the Xbox One, where they were just still tanking to Sony. They were Phil Spencer had just like been put in charge, and they were trying to recuperate and trying to build back this goodwill. But now we know with hindsight that there was conversations then about Microsoft just stepping out of gaming, just getting rid of Xbox and saying, hey, Sony, you got this. But they had that conversation with Phil and they doubled down. And it seems like Microsoft is willing to throw everything it has behind Xbox now. It's so insane to think about.
Yeah.
How that perspective has changed. Because like, this was something that I found just before we went live, is that Sony shares have fallen 7% today because of that news of Xbox Activision Blizzard's deal. You're probably talking about, because, you know, like, we'll get into like exclusive talk, but like the large thing of like, will the next year's Call of Duty or the one after that be on PlayStation? How does that affect revenue? That's probably why. But yeah, I got that from Tom Ivan at VGC, and something that was interesting in that, I'm pulling this quote here. Long term, this shows Microsoft is operating on an entirely different level than Sony and Nintendo, DFC Intelligence said of the Activision Blizzard deal in a research note. Sony and Nintendo have a huge presence in the existing games business, but those two smaller Japanese companies struggle to play in the higher strategic space the industry is heading. This is more about Microsoft competing with Google, Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and others. This acquisition would immediately put Microsoft in a solid strategic position. So that's what we're talking about now.
Yeah.
That they're not really competing with PlayStation and Nintendo anymore.
And that's the scariest part. They were just like, all right, we're done with this game. We figured, quote unquote, figured it out. But now here we are going, all right, now let's go after the bigger boy. That is Google. That is Facebook or Meta now and all that stuff. So they're just acquiring these assets to be able to do whatever in the world that they want to. I know, I don't know if it's changed, but you were speaking of stocks real fast. I know Microsoft stock went down by like 1.2%, which is nothing to Microsoft.
Yeah.
That's probably a normal day. And then actually Activision Blizzard's went up by like 22%.
Did it really?
Yes. Yeah.
It was interesting.
It went up.
Yeah, hold on. Keep talking. I'm going to pull up a quote here.
See if you can pull that up. I know here, I've got something from Brendan Sinclair from GameIndustry.biz just kind of helping out. Bloomberg's Diana Bass put a dollar figure on it. This is where we kind of estimated the $70 billion. Now it's like 68. That's significant premium over Activision Blizzard's market cap of nearly $51 billion. But like minigame outfits, the Call of Duty and World of Warcraft publisher shares price has been trending downward over the last year. Activision Blizzard has also been the subject of immense public criticism since a July lawsuit. We all know about that. Microsoft soon confirmed the deal had been reached and put a price point of $68.7 billion on the deal, with a $95 per share agreement representing a 69% premium over Activision Blizzard's Monday closing price of $65.39. So the investors like this. This is something very good for the investors. Obviously, like you said, Microsoft has so much money that them losing 1.2% isn't going to do anything to them. Yeah. And then it's interesting that Sony's went down, but I think you're right. It's the initial fear of, oh crap, what is PlayStation going to have when it comes to there? Did you find that card you're looking for?
Yeah. So this is, again, on that same subject of stocks. So I was looking at it. Yeah, Activision Blizzard stock is up around 30%. It's sitting at about $82 now. From earlier today, again pulling from Chris Scullion at VGC. Microsoft's Activision Blizzard deal could be in a collision course with lawmakers. And this one, host Joe Kernan pointed out that despite Microsoft announcing that it was going to buy every Activision Blizzard share for $95 each, the share price was still staying at around $89, and it's $82 now, so it's actually down from there. And asked Munster why nobody was buying despite what appeared to be a guaranteed $6 per share. So, like, Microsoft are definitely buying it at this price. Why isn't the price going up there? Because that's just free money. Munster replied by suggesting that there was a conflict on the table because Washington lawmakers have previously stated that they want to have greater control over corporate monopolies, and this deal appears to go against that. So Wall Street is scared that this deal might not go through and are hesitant to buy stocks, even though it should be guaranteed money. That's what we're dealing with here. This will still be being processed into probably like the end of this year or next year. And then after that, we're going to have to deal with whatever the US and European governments have to say about it, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, because it's going to go through the scrutiny. We all know that. It's going to go through. Is it going to be a monopoly? I know earlier I kind of did some of the digging. A lot of people were saying it is, but it's not. But yeah, it's just going to go through the checks and balances of all that stuff. And I think you're right, Finn. I think it'll probably be November, December before we hear anything of green means go when it comes to this deal or not, which I don't know. Microsoft wouldn't do. I don't know. I personally don't know. Anything could stop it when it comes to governments. I think they probably did their due diligence and are pretty good to go on this one. So, but we'll see in a couple months or a year, maybe. Okay. I'm going to do it. Let's do it right now. I'm going to turn my attention. We're going to turn attention to Bobby Kotick real fast because that's the big elephant in the room. And what would it be, Now to Play Games podcast, if we don't talk about the bullshit and all that stuff? So real fast, I'm going to read a better APK. That is the Workers Alliance that have been pushing for Bobby Kotick to get out and just better rights, better conditions for those who are working in gaming. And it's a 6 tweets thread. I'm just going to read the 1 or 2 because I think just to hit the high points real fast. They said the news of Activision's acquisition by Microsoft is surprising, but this does not change the goals of the ABK Workers Alliance. We remain committed to fighting for workplace improvements and the rights of employees regardless of who is financially in control of the company. Which, yeah, I mean, 100%. We still want you guys to have what you want because we still have Ravensoft. Correct me if I'm wrong, they're still on strike. And it's just still going downhill right now. So in the press release, they did say Bobby Kotick was still going to be in charge of Activision Blizzard. We don't know what's actually going to happen when the acquisition is completely done. But from the Wall Street Journal, guys, I pulled the Wall Street Journal. That is great. I feel like an actual news person today.
Put on your news hat.
Put on my news hat. It's ready to go. This is Kara Lombardo, Kristen Grid, and Aaron Tilley. If I butchered your names, I apologize. I'm just going to read exactly what they said. Bobby Kotick, Activision's longtime CEO, is expected to leave after the deal closes, according to people familiar with those plans. Microsoft has said in its announcement Tuesday that Mr. Kotick will continue to serve as CEO of Activision Blizzard, and that after the deal closes, the Activision Blizzard business will report to Microsoft Gaming chief Phil Spencer. But the companies have agreed that he will depart once the deal closes, the people said. In an interview Tuesday, Mr. Kotick didn't specifically address his status after the deal closes, but said he told Microsoft he will always be available to ensure that we are going to have the very best integration. So that is a very non-committal answer.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how it has to go.
I have another one to sort of add layers. So he did an interview today with GamesBeat and VentureBeat.
Awesome.
The interview them says, what do you think about reporting to Phil? What might you think about doing next once the deal is done? And is retirement one of your thoughts? He says, right now my focus is just staying CEO and running the business. And I think you probably could tell from this stock price, There's still a long way between now and getting the deal approved and all the regulatory issues, so I'm still going to be first focused on running the business. What I told Microsoft is that I care so much about this company that whatever role they want me to have is making sure that we integrate the business and we get a proper and smooth transition. I'm willing to do however much time that takes, if it's a month after the close, if it's a year after that. I just care about the transition going well. Reporting to Phil is the easy thing to do. He's a great guy and we have a great relationship. And if I have to do that, I'm happy to do that. All I care about is making sure that the transition and integration go well. So it sounds, again, very non-committal. Like he's just focused on getting the deal done and making sure like Microsoft and Activision like merge. After that, he's like, hey, if you need me, I'm here. If not, peace.
I'm out. Who cares?
Yeah. So how do we feel about
that? Honestly, that's, as if I remember correctly, that's kind of how it has to work when it comes to buyouts and stuff like that. If a CEO is not going to be there after the full-on buyout, is you kind of just stay hush-hush and shut up. Like, this is one of those, you don't talk about it and you just focus on getting it done. Just getting it all together, making sure, hey, and putting it out there like, I'm here to help out however I can. And that's literally what we're seeing. So I think this is a good thing. I will say that Bobby Kotick is done when it comes to Activision Blizzard, and Phil Spencer and the whole Microsoft team will actually put in a new people to get it taken care of. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, I do believe in Phil Spencer riding that ship and putting the right people in to make sure things get taken care of. Is it going to be instantaneous? God, absolutely freaking not. There is no way in hell it's going to be that way. But is it going to take monumental steps to being what it should be? Yes. Yes, it will. And while I agree, and the shitty part about this whole thing is Bobby Kotick's just going to go into the night. His contract is up in March 2023, I think is what I read.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just going to go quietly into the night and nothing's going to happen. He's going to get a payout and it's going to be done. Yeah. And yes, that sucks. I am not even going to fight anyone on that one because it does. It just sucks that he's not going to get any kind of reprimand or anything for allowing the culture of Activision Blizzard to blow up like that under his watch.
Mm-hmm.
But with him gone and Phil Spencer in and the team that needs to be there to make it right, I think we're going to see a huge difference in 5 years, 3 to 5 years. I can't tell. I'd like Phil Spencer again. I'd please go watch the Xbox documentary. His first thing he said when he got in control of Xbox was, I need to change the culture. Mm-hmm. That is the first thing I need to do is I need to change the culture of what we do here at Xbox. And he did it. And we're now seeing the fruits of that labor. And again, I do not believe, I do believe he is the man that can actually pull this off and make it a place for people to work where it's safe, where the crunch concept, all that crap, all the harassment and all that shit that went down is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Or taken care of when it happens. Let me preface that way. Taken care of properly if it happens.
Mm-hmm. That was a funny thing we were talking last week, very briefly, about the interview he did with the New York Times, Phil Spencer. And he was directly asked about Activision Blizzard. Because that was obviously one of the big stories from last year, and sort of like it shone this negative light in the games industry. And Phil Spencer was talking to on Sway about that. And it was very interesting. He said that obviously we need to renew or like rethink about our relationship with Activision Blizzard. And as I was listening to it, I was like, he's being very cagey about this, but this is probably just like some CEO stuff that you can't be like held liable or something. With that, like. Yeah. And I guess he was being more cryptic than we thought, which is super weird to think about now, listening back to that. Can I read you another quote, John?
Please,
from this interview. This is again from GameSpeak. They said, and was the sexual harassment investigation a factor in this, as it certainly seemed to affect the stock price? Kotick said, I think what affected the stock price more is pushing out Overwatch and Diablo. And then,
shut the fuck up.
And then I think people started to see this year's Call of Duty wasn't performing so well. So I think certainly the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing filing and the Wall Street Journal article contributed to that. but stocks go up and down for a variety of reasons. I think our view was that a $95 a share with all the cash, that's a really great deal for our shareholders. And so that was an easy and independent judgment. It's a great deal. Dude had to say nothing today, and he somehow still made me hate him. But that's why we're like, that's why you felt uncomfortable when you read this headline today. Like you said, you feel bad about him getting off scot-free.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to also think about it in the perspective of, would he have left under any other condition? Schreier has been interesting to watch over this Twitter thing, and God bless Schreier. I feel bad for him. He's supposed to be on vacation today.
Yeah, he's and this happened. Guess I'm working today.
But he's like very much interpreting like all this speaking. He's good for like making head or tail like these interviews and stuff. He's sort of relaying this narrative that, yeah, Microsoft have had this deal to buy Activision Blizzard for a while. They put in the offer.
Yeah.
Kotick didn't want to sell, but he had very little leverage because of the falling share price, because of, again, the lawsuits. It wasn't Overwatch and Diablo, you son of a bitch. It was the lawsuits.
Don't you lie.
At least mostly. Right? And so he couldn't really argue with them. He apparently as well tried to shop for like someone to outbid Microsoft, but he couldn't find anyone, so he was just like, eh. But I think it must be one of those things where Microsoft didn't want to come in as like this sort of conquering king and like throw everyone out, and like, because they like their acquisitions to like be hands off and like be seen as like they're still operating independently and autonomously. See again the purchases of Bethesda. But I was also this thing where I'm assuming somewhere in this deal, even if it was like a back alley handshake, that Bobby Kotick says you can't throw me out until such and such date, because I don't want to be seen as the guy that got thrown out after 30 years because of all the bad shit I did. He wants to get off easy, and he will get off easy.
He will, yep.
And that's sucks.
But
at the same time, I go back to, like, he probably wouldn't have left, like, as much as I'm scared of monopolies and stuff, I think Activision acting under Microsoft's stead is a better Activision than one acting under Bobby Kotick's stead, right?
100%.
And so the fact that he's getting pushed out and that there will be culture change, and I will need to keep tabs on that, we will keep talking about it over the podcast, we will be holding Microsoft accountable because they are accountable now, and they will need to be answering for these lawsuits and stuff.
Not only did they get a lot of new exclusive IPs under the Xbox, they got a lot of shit too. Yeah. And so it's going to be, again, a long, hard road for Microsoft.
It's just the catch-22 of Kotick's gone, but Kotick's getting off easy. So we just got to live with that. But yeah.
And I'm with you. Like, I don't think there's any other way. Like, if he was going to get forced out, he already would have been forced out by his board of directors, and that didn't happen. So this was the only way of someone bigger, the bigger fish coming and eating the little fish, which that's crazy to say that Microsoft is the biggest fish, probably one of the biggest fish in the world. And was like,
But regardless of any of those backhand deals, Kotick has to stay in every scenario until this deal is closed, the ink is dry. Because, like, what if regulators do step in and deny the seal? Then Kotick's left for nothing. He's like, okay, Activision Blizzard don't have a CEO anymore. Like, so regardless, he would have to stay until that deal is done. Yeah.
All right, let's pivot from there. I think, like I said, we're going to keep tabs on this one. We're going to see what's going to go on with Bobby Kotick. Now, let's just jump now into the main, like, meat and potatoes of this whole thing is, what about the games? What in the world is happening now that Xbox is buying Activision Blizzard? And first, let's just look at PlayStation fans. I know I'm a PlayStation fan. We've got PlayStation fanboys. I get it. So, this is from Video Game Chronicles, Andy Robinson, who just, I don't know how this man, like, does he sleep? Does anyone in the video game industry sleep?
Yeah, it's like Andy Robinson at VGC, Tom Phillips at Eurogamer, Rebecca Valentine, IGN. Like, they're all just, like, constantly online.
Yeah. Game Scoops, and Cooch? What? I can't remember his first name, but he's like, I see him everywhere. I was like, do you guys sleep?
Yeah, heroes of the games industry, just absolute workhorses.
All right, so pulling from this real fast, that's according to, and I'm jumping into the middle of the article. According to a Bloomberg report, a person familiar with the company's thinking publication also puts the exclusivity question to Microsoft's head of gaming, Phil Spencer, who said, I'll just say to players out there who are playing Activision Blizzard games on Sony's platform, it's not our intent to pull communities away from that platform, and we remain committed to that. That's all I'm going to say. Finn, what do you think that means? Chat, everyone, what do you think that Phil Spencer is like? We're not going to pull away any of the communities that are there right now. That's not what we're going to do.
Thoughts. We heard very similar speak during the Bethesda acquisition. And that ultimately led to, everything Bethesda owns is going on Game Pass.
This is my toy.
On PlayStation. Elder Scrolls is not coming to PlayStation. What they mean here is they're honoring existing contracts and not paying money to Sony to have games that were announced for PS5 not come to PS5, essentially. I don't know what the sort of deal is with Call of Duty. Maybe next year's Call of Duty after Vanguard comes to PlayStation, but you have to imagine certainly not the one after that. Warzone will still be on PlayStation. Yes. They will be revoking it from PlayStation stores. So things like that, but largely Activision is now a first-party studio company operating like any other company under the Xbox game publishing umbrella. They will be working for Games Pass for PC, for Xbox consoles exclusively. There's very few exceptions, right? Obviously, Activision Blizzard do a lot of like games as a service type stuff, and so they might analyze some of those and weigh up, hey, it's actually better for us if we have generate like microtransaction revenue and stuff on other platforms rather than making it exclusive. But I think even then, Microsoft have enough money where they'll say they take the hit to make it exclusive anyway, because Activision under Microsoft are no longer primarily driven by revenue, at least not directly. They are now driven by whatever the hell gets Game Pass subscribers up. That's the only metric the Xbox gaming division cares about for a large part. So anything that drives Game Pass subscribers is going to do it. So Call of Duty will be on there. Whatever the hell else they do might be on there. It might change how Activision Blizzard operates and what they care about in terms of their development, but we can get into that next. Yeah. What about you? Do you think I'm totally off base on this? Do you think that we're going to still see...
No, I think you're right. I think they're like Warzone's going to be there because Call of Duty is a moneymaker, 100% moneymaker. And how do I know that? Rose, will you please pull up the top 20 games of 2021 for me, please? Thank you. I'm sorry. What is it? Number 1 and number 2?
It's a depressing top 5, to be honest. It's really bummed me out.
Oh God. It's Call of Duty Vanguard at number 1 and Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War for number 2. Oh shit. They make a lot of money. Doesn't matter what you think when it comes to reviews or if you played it, they make a shit ton of money. Mm-hmm. So I've been going back and forth with this one in my head, to be honest with you. Like, does it logistically, financially make sense to go, hey, you know what, Warzone, that's going to stay there. You're just going to buy the battle pass and we're going to make money on the PlayStation fans, for the PlayStation fans. But does it actually make sense to go, Black Ops 5 or whatever, the next Call of Duty? Let's say it's not this Call of Duty that's coming out in 2022, but let's say it's the next Call of Duty in 2023. Mm-hmm. Does that financially make sense to just go, hey, it is an Xbox game? Plain and simple. It's on Game Pass, but it's an Xbox game. And I have literally been having this argument in my head the entire time. Part of me is like, yes, 100% you make it an Xbox game. You spent the money, you might as well play your toys in your own little sandbox. The other part of me is like, but does that change how many people actually buy the game?
Well, they don't care about that. That's the thing. Like, financially doesn't come into it. It's Games Pass subscribers. And it's going to change the way Call of Duties are made. Yeah. The thing people have asked for a long time. It's going to change the way Activision works. It's going to change their whole culture, not just for their workplace, but also for their relationship to their own IP and their own games. The thing that people have been asking for a long time is like, why do they keep releasing the same shit game every year and not fix it?
Do you think that they will actually pull an Ubi with Assassin's Creed? And
yes.
You do?
Yeah, I think Call of Duty is going to stop being annual because they don't care about sales as much anymore. They care about open critic scores. They care about Game Awards nominations because all of that drives Game Pass numbers.
Yes.
So yeah, you're going to stop seeing Call of Duty being an annual release. You're going to hopefully see it improve in terms of gameplay and have that time to allow the turnaround, to allow it to be an innovative game each time. Maybe 2-3 years between releases, more akin to maybe a Halo, but maybe still on a quicker scale.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Just think about that too. Because it was a couple months ago that we were talking that it was Xbox was like, oh yeah, we're planning on dropping games. You're gonna get like first party game, but it's gonna be like a small indie for a couple months, and you get a big game, then a couple small games, and you get a big game. Just think about that release schedule when it comes to, and not yearly, but just, hey, 1 year is Halo, 1 year is Call of Duty, 1 year is Bethesda game.
Mm-hmm.
Are you shitting me? You cannot, no one can tell me, no one can look any of us in the eyes and go, no, you probably shouldn't get Game Pass.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they've been building up to this, right? It's been this thing where they've been building these third-party partnerships and these indie partnerships for Game Pass to like keep having content there every month and keep like people engaged and keep bringing people to Game Pass. But like as they acquire more and more of their first-party studios, they can just line up with shit they own now, basically, and call it a day, much like Netflix do now. And like just have that sort of padding. But yeah, what you're going to see as well is a more diversified lineup, because that's just the interest of Game Pass, right? Activision have recently not cared about anything that isn't a $1 billion franchise, right? That's been their one driving force for them. If it's not Call of Duty, we don't care. If it's not Overwatch, we don't care. If Diablo doesn't hit, we'll make something else, right? Activision have this huge swell of like beloved IP that people care about and like has done well in the past that they've just thrown aside because it doesn't hit as big as a Call of Duty. And like, what the hell, nothing will. This is a conversation we had before on the podcast, but it's now in Microsoft's interest to reevaluate that and say, hey, let's bring these IPs up from the dirt. And so I'm now in a position where I thought it would never happen. We will see Crash 5. We will see a new Spyro game.
Yep.
Hell, we'll maybe see the return of fucking Guitar Hero. Who knows?
Yes. And it's going to be on Game Pass, and that's the magical about this.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater, it's coming back.
Yeah, it's coming back. And I don't want to call anyone out on this one or anything like that. It is we put blinders on when it comes to most of video games. We have this. These are my games, and this is what I'm working on. And if it's not that, I don't care. Microsoft was like, you know what? Have you heard of a 360 view? That's what we're doing right now. Do you want Call of Duty? Oh, you don't want Call of Duty? You want Crash? We got you Crash. You want a Forza Horizon? I got your Forza Horizon. Artful Escapes back there if you want that one too. Look, man. Welcome to the bar that is video games. I got everything that you need for you just to stay here and hang out. And that's the funny thing. Like, Xbox has done something absolutely insane when we've talked about games getting longer and people and developers wanting you to live in the game. You know what Xbox wants you to live? I want you to live in Game Pass. Mm-hmm. And they have made it hard for me to say no.
Yeah. It's too hard. I look on there and like I keep up with these things and I keep up with Game Pass every month. And even then I come onto it sometimes and I'm like, whoa, this is on here now. Whoa.
Dude, okay. I didn't know this until today. You know Death's Door is on Game Pass?
Death's Door's coming to Game Pass. Windjammers 2 is coming out.
I bought it because I was like, oh, I wonder if it's coming to Game Pass. It's not. I've heard good things. I'm going to buy it. And yeah, okay, so we're going to have this discussion from here until eternity. We're going to have this discussion later this year when it comes to PlayStation, because I guarantee you, PlayStation's going to do the same thing. We didn't talk about it, but Phil Spencer even said it would be in Sony's best interest to do a Game Pass and to have day one drops on Game Pass. I'm sorry, the man's proven his point.
Yeah, it is. It is in their interest. It's hard to deny. This is the thing. Everyone's been talking about like how is Sony going to respond to this, and they're not going to like go like for like this. The conversation happened during Bethesda as well. Sony's strategy to acquisitions have to be different. They don't have a big a war chest as Xbox does. They can't just go out and buy studios, even though they're higher revenue in gaming still than Xbox. They can't do that. And we've seen from their strategy, they like to build partnerships with people. They like to dip their toe in and then see, hey, if this works, if this relationship works, then we'll integrate them then. And it's a more slower paced thing than fucking waking up on a random Tuesday and suddenly these... It's one thing, John.
$billion.
It's one thing, John, and this is why, like, the antitrust thing, like, immediately comes to mind, is because, like, Activision, Blizzard, and King, each of those on their own is a giant in the gaming world.
Yeah.
All three of those are now part of this other thing, which also includes Bethesda and all these other studios. Like, it's insane.
We live in a very weird time, my friend.
Kotick said in that interview that, like, yeah, we're massive in the gaming world, and like people might see this and go weird, but it's like even the size that we were, we couldn't compete on this as again this hyper strategic level that Microsoft is operating at with like competing with Facebook and doing gaming and stuff, but also doing stuff in AI and analytics and stuff, and like Activision couldn't do that obviously, so they kind of needed Microsoft to like stay ahead of the industry. Which is weird to think about because Activision Blizzard King is so big and they make so much money. It's crazy. But like, yeah, PlayStation and Nintendo just aren't on that level.
Nope. They're not operating at that level.
They're not going to be.
No.
They make TVs. They don't make robots, they make TVs.
Yeah. and not getting on it, but just in the idea of like, we hear, I hear, because I also keep up with like movie news and whatnot, the amount of just crap I hear from Disney trying to buy Sony because Sony Pictures is not making money unless it's Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. And so it's the same idea that Sony doesn't have the buying power nor probably the reserve cash to do anything remotely close to this. And this goes back to your point of just, this is why you see him going, hey, Housemark, make a couple games for us. All right. Yeah, we're good. It's working out. You want to come to this party? All right, cool. Mm-hmm. And not just like kicking in the damn door and like, money, you're all mine now. And like that Microsoft can do.
Mm-hmm. And they still have, Sony are still competitive. Like this doesn't change that fact. Sony still have some of the most revered studios in the world of gaming. They still have some of the highest open critic scores. But the sheer volume that Xbox is operating at now is hard to dispute, right? What do they have? Like 11 Game Awards nominees this year. That's like going to go up there. And like once they start to like change Activision Blizzard's culture and hopefully like bump up those Metacritic scores and like, you know, sort of revitalize Blizzard from like the depths of despair that it's been in for the past 5 to 10 years. That's going to be a hard thing for Sony to keep up with, and also coupled with the fact that, hey, you're making these great PlayStation Studios games to sell PlayStations. What happens when, in the long-term future, when PlayStations don't matter anymore? When you can just play an Xbox on your TV through the power of the cloud, and Microsoft are doubling, tripling down on that. So it's hard for them to keep up in that way. I can imagine a universe where Microsoft buys Sony. As in, or Microsoft buys the PlayStation segment of Sony. Maybe the other bit goes to Disney or whatever. The reason that can't happen now is that would be way too close to skirting the antitrust stuff.
Yes.
I think the argument that Microsoft and Activision have now is that Xbox is a platform holder. They own the Xbox ecosystem. They are buying Activision in the same way they bought Bethesda to provide content for that ecosystem. So it's not technically rubbing against it in the same way where Xbox is a platform holder buying Sony another platform holder. And that's sort of like, lawmakers are sort of behind. They'll still be thinking on like the console wars thing. They still think that Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo are competing. They're not. Xbox is thinking about the metaverse right now. And I'm still not 100% what the metaverse is, but I'm scared of it. I know enough to be scared of it.
All right,
Go. I was gonna say no. Just one more thing. Just like
absolutely. Look, this is all we're talking about, baby. Let's do whatever you want.
No, just like because I talked about the metaverse. That is the least interesting part of it to me. But I know that I'm like a sucker because that's the way industry's going. And the way people are talking, this, like, Microsoft has leapfrogged everyone else in this space now. Facebook, Meta were the head before because of their stuff with Oculus and let them trying to pretend that they owned and came up with the metaverse. Apparently, Microsoft are way ahead just because of IP and content matters so much. And they now have a ton of just beloved IP.
I mean, and then on top of that, there's one thing that Facebook isn't that Microsoft is: hardware manufacturer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They don't have their own VR headset yet, but they might. They surely must be thinking about it.
Do you remember? I think this was E3 2015 or 2016. The Microsoft Visor. Do you remember that thing?
Wasn't it the HoloLens, the AR thing?
HoloLens, that's it. Thank you. HoloLens, and I'm like, I know it's kind of like oh god, Kinect, where it's kind of its own thing now, where most Kinects are used in like schools and medical. But I think didn't HoloLens didn't that go that route too? It's more medical stuff.
It was very much a proof of concept. I had used a HoloLens and like the newer version of the HoloLens, and it was very much like, this is not like the level of an Oculus or like a PSVR or anything like that yet. This is very much a proof of concept. And they weren't even really targeting at consumers. They were targeting it at developers. Because at that point, I think Oculus was still independent and like VR was very much this like fad that was going to be a thing but wasn't yet. And so I think that was Microsoft's thing where like, we probably won't make money on HoloLens, but we'll take a hit to try and get developers excited and people excited about this. They haven't really done anything in the space since then. Again, as you said, HoloLens is sort of its own thing. It helps with like medical and like these very specific scientific and engineering uses. But in terms of a consumer headset that they can use to drive the metaverse, it's something that they're just not at all doing right now, or at least not publicly. And we always talked about, would Xbox just allow it to be an open platform where you can use VR headsets, any VR headset with Xbox, or because you can already use any VR headset with PC pretty much. So why not just allow that same thing with Xbox? So they might just be in the space where like, we provide the content and the experiences for the metaverse, but we don't get into the hardware space. We'll run the Call of Duty metaverse experience on a PlayStation VR 3. Like, that might be the world we live in.
Yeah. What was I going to say? Oh, okay. So real fast before we call it a podcast. Is Xbox done? Is Microsoft done? Or do you think we're going to get... It won't be this earth-shattering. For the love of God, please don't do that to us. But is there another developer or studio you think Xbox has its eyes on? Because I know, I've seen you all in chat. I've talked to you on Discord. I do understand. Well, the one thing Xbox is now missing is the Japanese market.
Yeah.
What developer?
Even before that, man, to be a fly on the wall at EA and Ubisoft this morning, like just seeing the fires that come out, like, what do we do? Shit.
God, no. Did someone miss a call from Phil? No, did no one? Okay.
Japan is definitely, I think it matters more to us than it matters to real people. I don't know, because it's all about IP and content.
Yes.
And Japanese IP is obviously very important to hardcore gamers and people from Japan. I don't know if it matters as much. It doesn't get US investors excited, right?
It doesn't.
What the hell is Dark Souls? Like, you know what I mean? What the hell is Shin Megami Tensei, right? Like, what are these things? So I don't know. Maybe Capcom? Maybe Capcom.
What you got, Rose?
Oh, I'm just sitting here going, try to explain Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy to some of these American investors. Like, I just want to be a fly on the wall for that one.
Satya Nadella having to explain and apologize for Kingdom Hearts would be the funniest investment call I've ever seen. Oh man, that would be funny.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's closer to home, but Capcom is the one I could see maybe going that way.
Well, Microsoft does now have a weird into a Japanese developer right now. Once this goes through, they have one weird in.
You're not
Japanese. That Japanese developer is FromSoft.
No, it's not. Come on.
Yes, it is.
I get the connection you're making.
Who published Sekiro?
Finn, I'm very sorry,
Activision.
but I regret to inform you that Jon has now been let go from Now to Play Games.
Yeah.
We
Rose,
will
you
now
wanna
be
move your
moving
camera up? We'll
forward
do the rest
without
of the
him.
podcast. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not going to say it's going to happen, but Activision published Sekiro.
Mhm.
And there's
I
the one.
think
And it would be just a banger if they were able to go, hey, can we put it on Game Pass? And FromSoft's like, yeah, sure, whatever. I don't give a damn. So, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's much more likely that Sony would buy it since they already have a small stake in it.
I agree.
I think From Software is for sale. But
No.
If anyone were going to buy it, I think it would be Sony. But it would be like, it's not unprecedented, right? They bought Activision and suddenly Sunset Overdrive, which was an Xbox exclusive, became a PlayStation IP.
Yes.
They could do the same with Sekiro. Activision's Game of the Year Keighley winning game could become a Sony property.
I did look that up. That's the only reason I brought this up. I did look it up. While Activision did publish it, FromSoft still owns the IP. So that...
Yeah. So I would go to Sony in that case for sure.
Yeah, it would go to Sony if that ever happened and all that fun
That's
stuff.
a valuable acquisition, though. I wouldn't completely rule it out of Microsoft buying it, but because when you buy FromSoft, not only you're buying a company, you're buying basically a whole genre of games. Right? If you like Souls games, by God, you better subscribe to Game Pass. Like, imagine that.
That's the way to go.
I don't think the deals are stopping. I think we could see. Like, acquisitions they just keep happening. And I wonder, like, when and if it's going to slow down. We could see something on this level. Like, it's only January, John. We could see something at this level later in the year.
11 more months to go, man.
Like, when we saw that tweet that, like, select Ubisoft games were coming to Game Pass, and, like, our brains instantly went to, Xbox have bought Ubisoft. Yeah, whatever. Like, that didn't happen. But we believed it, right? It's believable, is the thing. Yeah. They could buy really anyone they wanted at this point. They're that big.
Yeah. I really don't know. I'm with you. I think... I don't think that they're done. Mm-hmm. I don't think they have too much cash not to be done. I mean, especially like you said, Discord, all the other ones that actually fell through. Who knows? Maybe it is something on that side, more software tech side that they do, and that's it. Or it's just Platinum Games. Scalebound comes back to life. I don't know. It could be literally anything. We could wake up next Tuesday and be like, shit, Finn, we got to do another podcast.
How much does that scare you, though, how big Xbox is now? Because... It
is scary. I'll be honest. It's scary. Like, it was one of those, they were the underdog. They were the underdog. They got good, and the 360 effed it up with the One, and then here they are with the Series X, and it's like, there's a point when you register, someone means business.
Mm-hmm.
And this is that point now. Like, it was Bethesda was like, all right, yeah, Microsoft, they're going to make games. They're going to give you games. This one was like, no, we're not effing around about this. This is ours. Welcome to the kingdom of Xbox. You're welcome.
Yeah, I remember back to, it must have been E3 2018 or maybe 2017 even, where they had that sort of revitalizing conference at E3 where they talked about, hey, we bought these 5 game studios. We bought Ninja Theory, Compulsion Games, Playground Games, and I remember cheering. I was like, yes, Xbox, like, keep acquiring studios. Go for it. Build up your first party. And now they buy Activision and they buy Bethesda, and I'm like, ooh, I'm not...
I shouldn't have cheered you on that much.
Yeah, but to people like me who are terrified of monopolies, I will say that it maybe sounds bigger than it is, which is weird to say, because I think the gaming industry is in such a different position than it would have been had this sort of thing happened in, say, the 90s, right? Where if you bought Activision and Bethesda, you owned the games industry at that point. Yeah. Now we're in a point where AA games are a success and gaming is more global, and you have this big rise in indies, and largely, like, you'll still have all those things. Like, you'll not find a time where there's a genre of games you like and you're just not able to play that game anymore except for this one publisher, right? That games are so diverse now and just operating at all these different levels to the point where, like, yeah, most of the innovation we see is coming from indies and these smaller titles. So I don't think we're in a spot where it's going to be like, oh, I really like this genre game, but I'm not going to be able to play it anymore because I don't like Xbox or I don't like Activision. It's scary and it's huge and it's capitalism, but like games are so much bigger than they are now that this is only a small portion of the industry. Where you can have multiple of these giant conglomerates now. Like, you not only have Microsoft, but you have Tencent, you have Embracer Group, you have Take-Two, all these different massive players, and still there's a large portion of the games industry that's largely independent. I would like to see too many more of these type of things happen.
No. Calm down a little bit. Because I like, is it going to be Ubisoft? Like, is it going to be EA? I think
Ubisoft's next in the chop. All the big dogs, Ubisoft, I think, is next in the chopping block.
I think so too. It's got to be Ubisoft. Everyone else, like EA, I think it's just too big to. Well, I can't say that. I mean, I would have said that about Activision Blizzard.
Activision. In terms of revenue, I don't think they were.
Yeah, no one is too big when it comes to Phil Spencer's battle chest.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts that you got?
It's gonna be again, like, this is the worst final thought to have, but I just can't get over Crash and Spyro being owned by Xbox now.
Yeah.
It was so funny on Twitter seeing everybody catch up. It was like the reeling of like Xbox had bought Bethesda or Xbox had bought Activision and all these like reactions and stuff, and then like an hour or two passed and everyone was like, oh, they own Crash Bandicoot. Like, everyone just sort of realized that. Sorry, at the same time, I think Keeley tweeted out, like, that's such a crazy thing to think about. This was impossible a few years ago to me, and now it's happened. It's real.
And now here we are. For me, I think we're going to see a lot more interesting games coming from Activision Blizzard if this goes through. Like, I think now that
in the history books could be the point where it's like Blizzard were near death and they got revived. Could be.
Yep.
Potentially.
But especially like you said, they're not trying to make money. Obviously, there's a battle chest in Phil Spencer's office that has a shit ton of that money. They don't need to worry about it. They just need to make good games, so you subscribe to Game Pass. I think we're going to see a lot of different games. I think we're going to see Toys for Bob come back and not be a Call of Duty machine.
Yeah.
I don't know. Vicarious Visions is gone, which sucks, but
I think it's
you know what? Yeah, I do too. You've got a couple Xbox developers that could probably take on Crash Bandicoot. That's all I'm saying. I think
we couldn't see Vicarious Visions. We couldn't see him.
We couldn't do it.
They got eaten up by Diablo. But imagine. I don't think this is going to happen, right? But imagine Rare developed Spyro or Rare developed Crash Bandicoot.
Dude, screw you. I think it could happen now. I mean, I really do. Think about that idea.
Or Toys for Bob developed Banjo the other way about it.
Yes.
Yeah, there's so many possibilities. The world of possibilities.
The amount of crap that you literally have a deck of cards that you can just. All right, developer here, you're going to get this game. Go nuts. Yeah. And Xbox is just like, and Phil Spencer's like, you guys good? Everyone good? Game's good? All right, cool. Game Pass. We live in a very, very weird and interesting and exciting time.
Yeah.
All right. Excuse me. You know what? Let's call that an episode. This has been a very special Now to Play Games podcast. If you're here with us live, please click the follow button. We're going to be back on Saturday, actually. Yep. If you're watching this video on the Now to Play Games YouTube channel, go ahead and subscribe for the all the NTP content at your fingertips. Did I say subscribe here on Twitch, or did I say follow?
I don't know, dude. I don't listen to you. I just don't know when you do these things.
Do this I don't remember what I said.
Think about Crash Bandicoot right now.
Yeah, look, we feel a little bit better now playing our Activision games. That's an amazing feeling. If you're listening to us on the podcast, please follow and give us a review. Thank you, guys. You are the best. With that, I am John. That's Finn. Rose is in the producer chair. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day on this crazy Tuesday. This $68.7 billion Tuesday.
With a B.
with a B.
That's a
With
lot of
that-
tacos.
That is a lot of
Taco
tacos on a
Tuesday.
Taco Tuesday. Taco Tuesday.
Couldn't get out without tacos. Yeah, I gotta mention them.
Had to talk about the tacos.
NFTs and tacos
They're so
every
good.
week.
NFTs and tacos, baby. It's what Now to Play Games is all about. And with that, go play some games. And we'll see you on Saturday.